Yo, what's up, Cavalry Kids volunteers? My name's Otto, and I'm here with Officer Eric to talk about the active shooter protocol. What's up, Officer Eric?
Hey, what's up, Otto? How you doing?
Pretty good. Hey, Officer Eric.
Yes.
Can you tell me, how do we know if we're in a lockdown situation?
Well, there's two ways you can know you're in a lockdown situation. The first way is if you hear gunshots, you know that you definitely need to lock your door, and we're in a lockdown. Otherwise, you'll have someone who's going to come around to your classroom and announce to you, we're in a lockdown, go into your normal lockdown protocol.
All right. So what do we do if an active shooter is on campus and I'm in my classroom?
If an active shooter is on campus and you're in your classroom, the first thing you need to do is you need to close the door. The second thing you do is you put up the black shade to actually black out the window so that no one can look inside the classroom. You turn off the light in the classroom, and then you silence your phone, and you make sure that everyone remains quiet inside the classroom until the situation is over.
That makes sense. What about if we're in a large group situation? What's the protocol then?
The large group situation is very similar, because if you find yourself in Wiggles and Worship, that's a large classroom, but the principle's still the same. You'll just have more people there. But you close the doors. You make sure that you put the shade over the door, because all classrooms that have a window to the door come equipped or outfitted with a black shade that can be stuck right up to the glass so that no one's able to peer into the classroom. You make sure all the students you turn off the light, and then you make sure all the kids remain quiet until the situation's over. And don't forget again to silence your cell phones.
Right. So, here, tell me, is there anything that we can do before service to make sure that the kids are safe?
Sure. Before service, it's going to be critical that you ensure that you test the doorknob to make sure that it's locked. It's got to be in a locked position so that if a crisis happens, all you have to do is close the door. Then make sure that right beside the door, there's typically some type of folder affixed to the wall. Make sure that it comes equipped, or make sure that it contains that black folded piece of paper so that if a situation happens, you just stick that up on the window.
Got it. So what are my responsibilities as a small group leader?
If you're a small group leader and God has entrusted you with a class, it's very important that you review this protocol in your head before the class begins to do what I just said and make sure that things are in place, and that if a situation happens, that you act swiftly and decisively, and again, ensure that the kids are quiet so that no one has an idea that there's anyone in the classroom. They'll just think that the class went out for some type of activity and the classroom is unoccupied.
Got it. But what about like a team leader or even a service coordinator?
If you have the responsibility of team lead or service coordinator, it's incumbent upon you to go around and make sure that everyone receives the information at first, and that all of the doors to the hallways are locked so that the intruder is unable to get down the hallways to the classroom, and then you find a class to take shelter in so that you safeguard yourself.
So, Officer Eric, you're in security, right?
Yes.
So what's your responsibility during all of this?
My responsibility during these type of situations is for me to actually come and find the threat and then try to take that threat down so that threat is no longer a bother to anyone, and so that everyone can then be informed that the crisis is over.
So when the crisis is over, how do we even know?
Well, the way you know the crisis is over is very similar, and that is you'll have someone, a service coordinator, or you'll have a team leader who's going to come around, or a security person come around with an actual key and physically unlock the door and access the classroom and announce to you that the crisis is over.
Well, is there anything else that's important for us to know?
What's important for you to know is that you should remain vigilant and aware of your surroundings. Always report anything that seems suspicious, any person that seems suspicious, and don't feel that it's an inconvenience to security to do that, because we would always rather show up and find that it's nothing than to find out later on that you saw something but didn't report it. So remember, if you see something, say something.
So is there anything else that we should know, Officer Eric?
Absolutely. A couple of things. Number one, and that is, if you ever run into law enforcement after you've escaped and you had the opportunity to do so, give them a very detailed description of the shooter if you happen to have seen the shooter, and a description of any type of weapon that the shooter may have in his possession.
Got it, got it. Anything else?
Sure. Keep in mind that most of these incidences are over in 7 minutes. So from the time that this incident begins until the time that it's over is 7 minutes. So if you find yourself in a situation where you were unable to escape the scene and you had to hide, just know this: as every minute passes, your opportunity and your chances of survival increase significantly. Because what's going to happen is it's only a matter of minutes before security or before the police is going to be confronting the shooter. And once the police or security confront the shooter's attention is then diverted from hurting innocent people like yourself to having to engage and defend himself against me, security, or against the police. So, know that time is your friend.
Well, that's really comforting. Hey, last question. How many shooters are there usually?
Typically, there's going to be one shooter. So you have had a couple of instances in this country where there were 2 shooters, but that's the maximum number of shooters. And the reason that that's important to know is that if you can identify exactly where the shooter was, let's say, for example, you know he was at the end of a corridor, then you could almost rest assured that at the opposite end of the corridor, if you have a chance to go there as a route of escape, you can know for sure that there's probably not anyone else accompanying him that's going to be waiting for you there.
Got it. Well, thanks so much, Officer Eric. This has been a lot of good information. Thanks for talking to us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me aboard.
Bye, guys.